The legislation refers to a large number of CGT events that are split into different categories. In this clip, we look at some of the more common CGT events that relate to the disposal or end of a CGT asset. Ken sold his property at auction on the 1st of August for $900,000, with settlement taking place on the 1st of October. When he sold the property, he paid $15,000 in agent fees. Ken had originally bought the property 6 years ago for $500,000, paying an additional $30,000 in stamp duty and $1,000 in legal fees. Ken uses the property as an investment property. During the years he owned it, he spent $2,000 on repairs and paid $40,000 in interest on an investment loan. What is Ken's CGT liability? CGT will only be an issue where there is a CGT event. CGT event A1 occurs when there has been a disposal of a CGT asset. A disposal will usually be the sale, but will also include other transfers such as a gift. A CGT asset includes property such as a house. So here, Ken has triggered CGT event A1 as he has sold his house. The timing of CGT event A1 is the time the sales contract is entered into. If there is no contract, then the CGT event is at the time the CGT asset is transferred. For Ken, the time of the CGT event will be the 1st of August, being the date of the auction. Ken's capital gain is his capital proceeds less his cost base. His capital proceeds would be what he sold the property for, being $900,000. The cost base consists of 5 elements, although amounts that have already been deducted or are deductible, such as repairs and interest on investment property, are not included in the cost base. His total cost base is therefore $546,000. Ken's capital gain is $354,000. Note that where CGT event A1 results in a capital loss, the formula for calculating this loss is the reduced cost base less capital proceeds. The reduced cost base does not include the third element of the cost base. So as Ken has no cost of ownership, his reduced cost base is the same as his cost base. Katie had a painting that she bought 2 years ago for $40,000. Unfortunately, her children drew all over it with crayons and ruined it beyond repair. The painting was insured for $55,000. The destruction of the painting would have triggered CGT event C1. This occurs when a CGT asset has been lost or destroyed. The time of CGT event C1 is when compensation is received, or if no compensation is received, when the destruction is discovered. The capital gain and capital loss calculations for CGT event C1 use the same formula as CGT event A1. Here, the capital proceeds would be the insurance receipt of $55,000 and the cost base would be the $40,000, so Katie would have a capital gain of $15,000. Had the painting been uninsured, then the capital proceeds would have been nil. This would mean that there would be a capital loss of $40,000. In January 2004, Supermarket Proprietary Limited paid $2 million to be the exclusive distributor of exotic cooking oils for 6 years. However, 3 years into the agreement, it was terminated by the cooking oil supplier. The supplier paid the supermarket $3 million in compensation. This termination would trigger CGT event C2 because there has been an intangible CGT asset that has been cancelled. The time of CGT event C2 is when a contract is entered into to end the intangible asset. If there is no such contract, the CGT event is at the time that the intangible asset ends. The formulas for calculating capital gains and capital losses for CGT event C2 are the same as CGT events A1 and C1. Here the capital gain would be the $3 million capital proceeds less the $2 million cost base, being $1 million. However, let's assume that Supermarket's contract was not cancelled prematurely and instead it lapsed after 6 years. This would also trigger CGT event C2 as an intangible CGT asset expired. In such an instance, there would be a capital loss of $2 million. Cara sold her investment property at an auction in February for $1.2 million and received a $120,000 deposit on auction day. Cara had paid her lawyer $500 to prepare a sales contract. Settlement was to be in April, however the buyer went into financial hardship and could not continue with the sale. Cara kept the $120,000 deposit, and as the housing market was declining, she decided to take the house off the market. Cara's triggered CGT event H1 due to the deposit being forfeited. The time of CGT event H1 is when the deposit is forfeited. The capital gain would be the deposit received less expenditures connected to the sale. Note that if Cara decided to continue to offer the house for sale, and it was then sold to another buyer, there would have been no CGT event H1. Instead, CGT event A1 would be triggered when it was subsequently sold. In such a case, the forfeited deposit would be added to the capital proceeds of the subsequent sale. To recap, there are a number of CGT events that relate to disposal or end of a CGT asset. CGT event A1 is triggered when a CGT asset is disposed of. CGT event C1 is triggered when a CGT asset is lost or destroyed. CGT event C2 is triggered when an intangible asset ends. And finally, CGT event H1 is triggered when a deposit is forfeited.